Hello friends, Something Borrowed, number 9, almost running out of fingers, but we're not running out of goodness, of finger-licking good poetry. The days are getting brighter, our hearts are getting lighter, and our hands are getting slighter as we slip in some cool poems for you today. Hello, goodbye.
Hello and welcome back to Something Borrowed. So I'm going to bring on our special guest for the second half, but before we do, I'm going to do my something old, and it is 10 years ago since my first book of poems came out, and today my third book of poems arrived in the post, so very exciting. So spoiler alert, that is going to be my something new. And you might think 10 years, sort of five years apart, but nope. Second book took 8 years. This one took 2 years. So we're sort of getting quicker quite rapidly. So the next book's going to be half a year, and then it's just going to gradually sort of come out on the hour and be quite stressful. But my first book of poems was called The Sunshine Kids, and I did a gig in Dublin last week. Something very cool happened at the end when I finished, and someone requested that I did the Sunshine Kid poem as an encore, and all of that coolness evaporated when I realised I didn't know the words anymore. So I'm going to read it out of the book, 10 years on, and it goes like this. Old Man Sunshine was proud of his son, and it brightened his day to see his little boy run. Not because of what he'd done nor the problems overcome, but that despite that his disposition remained a sunny one, as it hadn't always been like this. There'd been times he tried to hide his brightness. You see, every star hits periods of hardship. It takes a brighter light to inspire them through the darkness. And if we go back to when he was born in a nebula, we know that he was never thought of as regular because he had a flare about him. To say the Midas touch is wrong, but all he went near seemed to turn a little bronze. Yes, this son was loved by some more than others. It was the case of Joseph and his dream coat and his brothers, because standing out from the crowd had its pros and its cons, and jealousy created enemies and those he outshone, such as the shadow people. Now, the shadow people didn't like the Sunshine Kid because he showed up the dark things the shadow people did. And when he shone, he showed the places where the shadow people hid, so the shadow people had an evil plan to get rid of him. First up, they made fun of his sunspots, shooting his dreams from the sky. The words were gunshots designed to remind him he wasn't very cool and didn't fit in with any popular kids at school. They said his head was up in space. They would bring him down to earth. Essentially, he came from nothing, and that is what he was worth. He'd never get to go to university to learn, and the degrees never showed be those first-degree burns from those that came too close. Told him he was too bright. That's why no one ever looked him in the eyes. His judgment became clouded. So did the sky with evaporated tears as the sun started to cry, because the Sunshine Kid was bright, with a warm personality. And inside he burnt savagely, hurt by the words and curses of the shadowy folk who spoke holes in his soul and left cavities. And as his heart hardened, his spark darkened. Every time they called him names, it cooled his flames. He thought they might like him if he kept his light dim, but they were busy telling lightning she had terrible aim, and he couldn't quite get to grips with what they said. So he let his light be eclipsed by what they said. He fell into a Lone Star state like Texas, felt like he'd been punched in his solar plexus. But that's when little Miss Sunshine came along, singing her favorite song about how we're made to be strong. You don't have to be wrong to belong, just be true to who you are, because we are all stars at heart. And little Miss Sunshine was hot stuff. The kind of girl, when you looked at her, you forgot stuff. But for him, there was no forgetting her. The minute he saw her image burn in his retina, she was out of this world, yet she accepted him. Something about this girl meant he knew whenever she was next to him, things weren't as dark as they seemed. He dared to dream, shadows weren't nowhere to be seen. When she was there, he beamed, and his eyes would light up in ways that can't be faked. When she grinned, her raised the tip words of hate. They gave her the nicknames. They were Cool Star and Fun Sun, and gradually the shadowy damage became undone. She was one in a septillion, and she was brilliant. Could turn the coldest-blooded reptilians vermilion, loved by billions, from Chileans to Brazilians, and taught the Sunshine Kid the meaning of resilience. She said that all the darkness in the world cannot put out the light from a single candle. So how the hell can they handle your light? Only you can choose to dim it, and the sky is the limit, so silence the critics by burning. And if eyes are windows to the soul, then she drew back the curtains and let the sun shine through the hurting. So in a universe of adversity, these stars stuck together. And though days became nights, the memories would last forever, whether the weatherman said it or not. It would be fine, because behind the clouds, the kid could still shine. Yes, the sunshine kid was bright, with a warm personality. And inside he burnt savagely, fueled by the fire inspired across galaxies, by the girl who showed him belief. Thank you so much. Could you please keep that warmth and energy and loveliness going as we welcome to the stage an absolute ray of light in physical form, the wonderful, glorious, excellent Laurie Bolger.
Thanks, baby. I'm very small. It's all right. It goes. You can do any height with this. How are you doing? How are you doing, Harry Baker? Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm really good. I went for a swim today, guys. Frank's gonna said that there's no one that's ever been for a cold water swim and not told anyone. Like, you just can't, can you? Do you know what I mean? Like, you go in the shop, you're like, I went for a swim. I did it. I went in for 2 minutes and then came straight back out and felt really proud of myself. So we're doing something old. Yeah. So this is a book that's old that I wrote in 2016. It came out, and like you say, it's like your whole life's work, and then you write one in an hour now. Like, definitely relate to that. So this is quite a strange book. It's sort of set in W10 where I was born, and so this is the street that my Irish grandparents came to and set up base with my dad, and then he set up base with my mum, and then I was born on that street. So I'm not going to read anything about that. There's also quite a lot about Bristol in this book, and I'm going to read a short poem and then a middle-sized poem from it. So it's a bit of a gloomy one, but let's go for it. So this is called This Morning Your Mum Gave Me Your Hairbrush. This morning your mum gave me your hairbrush. In the shower, I shut my eyes, hoping to run into a wall of stars instead of the dark drift of funeral cars. And your hippie brand of shampoo took me straight to you, so I stayed under the water for ages. And the plug hole pulled at suds that mapped the floor, and hair, some mine and then some yours. And then I stood in a towel by your bed, and I held its teeth close to my head. Today will never be long enough, but they told me it takes time. So slowly I brushed your roots in mine. So the other poem I'm going to read, so this really is like a book about pubs, really, and about all the things that go on in pubs and the like social function of pubs, that kind of thing. There's a poem in the book called Public House, which I thought I'd centre just to see sort of what happened, and then it went into the shape of a perfect beer pump. I'll show you. That was a complete accident. But I know, innit? Did you just go, brilliant, brilliant, nice fringe? So I'm going to read a poem about pubs that's called Time, and it's basically when everything goes to shit and then you go to the pub and you kind of a stranger, or wherever you are, on the bus, train, whatever, a stranger might kind of talk to you and almost sort of just make you feel back in yourself in a weird way, even if they are a bit of a pain in the ass, old strange man at the bar. So Time. I think he had all the time in the world to get drunk with anyone who would listen, so I told him everything in the end, absolutely all of it. And in the pub that band was on, and I asked the barman to borrow a pen. The old man next to me with whiskey on his breath came close to my face when he offered me a chair. I'm okay, I told him. And then he went into his jacket and he pulled out a little bookie's pen in blue plastic. And when the barman came back with a pub-branded pencil, he smiled and said, whatever she's having. And his face was the type that had been earned. So I said, well, go on then, you old charmer. Look, one won't hurt. And the pub was falling apart. a story for every single glass. And ever since the clock hands stopped, I think time had gone out the window. Somebody told me once that time is there for a reason, so life's little dramas don't all come at once. And we exchanged the type of trust that only you can in pubs, people like us. We bartered our baggage until the last trains had all gone, and I went to leave the pub without his name or his number or even a Facebook request. One more and then I'll go, I said, because this is time well spent. And he told me that he always sat in that same old spot. He said, you come back for a chat, my darling, whenever you want.
Laurie pointed out to me that the last time we saw each other, you were in bed in your pyjamas.
Yeah, I was in bed in my pyjamas.
Could you explain why that's not weird?
It was because Harry Baker did my night that's called Poetry in Pyjamas. So it's a night that I started so I didn't have to leave the house or wear shoes or even trousers, really. I was wearing trousers when I saw you.
Thanks.
Had my PJs on. But basically I get my favourite poets to come and sort of join me on Zoom, and people come from all over the world. Sometimes it's their morning. And they do a set and I interview them and have a little chat. And there's a little kind of open micy sharing bit at the beginning. I've got some bookmarks on the till if you want to come. It's really lovely. But our one was great.
It was so lovely.
Yeah.
Someone came from Canada. I think they were in their office, but it was great.
It was a mixture.
I felt sort of traumatized by Zoom gigs for a while because they were the only thing that was happening, and I was sort of pinning all of my expectations on that from what a normal audience would do, and then when that wasn't happening, I just sort of spiraled. And so I think coming out of it, I've been so grateful for being in rooms like this with people, but I think I sort of forgot the joy of it and how intimate it can be, and doing the gig with you was such a reminder that actually not everyone wants to go out to a gig, but people do want to
go out.
Not everyone wants to go out of the house. And so I think the way you curated the space, that it was warm and it was welcoming and people could turn up and whatever, and they didn't have to have the cameras on if they didn't want, and just, was that a post-lockdown thing? Was that something you've always wanted to do? How did it come about?
So in lockdown, I didn't do any online gigs because I was like, one, I don't just want to be in my house and like post-gig, like not be able to go for a pint with anyone and just kind of sit in my house like drinking a tinny, like what? So I didn't really do any, and I just wrote and wrote and wrote. And I wrote 3. I don't want to be that person, but I wrote 3 books in lockdown. Started yoga. All of those things. It was like lovely. But what I really liked about Zoom gigs was that you don't have to this, you can't beat this, isn't it? It's beautiful. It's like so lovely. But I really liked that you could kind of do your cooking or like hang out your washing or whatever while the gig was going on. And I love that. And if you're having a bit of a bad day, it's nice, isn't it? And you get the fix, but it's kind of, and then you can go to the loo halfway through, in your own toilet. So I think I didn't do. It's true, and you didn't. I didn't do any gigs really online in lockdown because I was like really anti them. And then I set that up, and then it's kept going. And I think a bit of both is kind of really nice. What was the other thing I was going to say? Pajamas, wearing pajamas. You get to wear pajamas when you do it, which is nice. It's also nice to get a really like poet that people think are quite serious, and then they like rock up in like a onesie, and you're like, that's really nice. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm going to keep it going until whenever, really.
Too right.
Yeah.
And very helpful having bookmarks for us to choose our poems.
Yeah.
The other bookmark is the Creative Writing Breakfast Club.
Oh, it's actually double-sided, Harry.
It's double-sided.
No, the other thing is a workshop that I run on Sundays, every Sunday without fail. And if someone gets married and I have to miss one, I hate it. I hate missing one. But honestly, it's become like a bit of a sort of weird thing. But I've started doing the Creative Writing Breakfast Club in person as well. So I've partnered with Choose Love, and we do little socials for them in the shop and at the South Bank in London. And now we've started getting out of London, which is beautiful. So who knows? I was chatting to the Margate Bookshop, actually. I'd like to do one in there. So, yeah, scan the thing and keep in touch, basically.
Definitely.
Yeah.
What's your favourite bit?
Of what?
Of all of the bits.
Of all of the bits?
Yeah. I feel like you do lots of amazing things. You facilitate these spaces and get other people writing, and that's such an amazing thing to do.
My favourite thing that I've ever made is Breakfast Club, for sure. Like, for example, we've got this amazing guy that comes called Michael, and he used to be a bouncer, and he's like absolutely massive and covered in tattoos, and he's absolutely amazing. And then he'll come, and then there'll be like this like cute, like kind of, I don't know, a lot of the women in Breakfast Club kind of, they look like me really, but we kind of we don't have any boys, is what I'm saying. We don't have many boys, so if anybody would like to come, he's a boy, that would be great, because every time a boy comes we're all like, a boy has come. But yeah, Michael is amazing, and basically we met. You have like your regulars, right? So we've got like Michael, Lizzie, Jenny, whatever, and we all met at the South Bank recently, and we went for social at the Between the Bridges thing. It's like an open food market thing with like, a bit in the back with pints and a photo booth and all of that. And we were there till like 2 a.m. But the workshop started at 10. So we got there and we sat there and everyone was like, some people were drinking herbal teas, some people were drinking like, hot chocolates, a couple of people got a pint. And then Michael bought everyone a shot. And we just did like, everyone did shots. I think it was that, like, your love language, do you know what I mean? My dad would be like, get everyone a Guinness, even if they don't like it, or a baby Guinness. But Michael's was shots, so yeah, we ended up just doing shots with the Breakfast Club. I think a couple of people did their first ever shot.
Incredible.
So, but yeah, that's my favourite thing I've ever made. It's like, it's just the best thing ever.
Yeah.
In person, online, whatever. And there's just no pressure to like share stuff or, it's just quick and lovely and Sunday and beautiful.
Amazing.
And people have got no shame anymore. Like they just turn up and like eat like an egg butty like on Zoom and wear like their pajamas, like a couple of people are like hanging out their arse as well, and they come and their hair's everywhere. They've just rolled out of bed. But I love it. So yeah, Breakfast Club's my favourite thing I've made.
Amazing. I'm going to do something new in a second, but before I do, while we're on something old, that book, Box Rooms, is my favourite poetry reading experience I've ever had.
No way.
I'm not
Even more than Sylvia Plath? Even more? Okay.
I'm not very good at reading poems. I love seeing people perform, and then I love getting their books because it reminds me of it. And then me and Grace were on a train going through like somewhere in Norfolk and just took it in turns to read your poems to each other, and it might be the most wholesome thing that's ever happened. It was so.
Was it like early days
lovely.
for you guys then? Was that?
Not
was
even,
it romance?
not even.
No.
Not even.
That's lovely.
We were on a train recently, and I think just because we were having a nice time, someone just leant over and said, "You must be new."
That's so lovely.
Yeah.
Thanks for saying that. Yeah, I do think, because if I'm ever romancing someone, I get them to read poems. That I don't really, because no one will do it. But yeah, that's my favourite thing, is to be read to.
Come
and
on.
like to take it in turns. So that means a lot. That's beautiful.
That's lovely.
Thank you.
Can I do something new?
No. Yeah.
As discussed, I've got a new book of poems, and it's called Wonderful. Partly because then I thought if anyone ever reviewed it, even if they said Wonderful is a terrible book, I just take that as a quote. But it's named after. Well, it's not. I wrote this poem thinking that I should have one that matched the title, and my first book was called The Sunshine Kid, and that was how I saw myself for a long time. And I try and see the joy and the hope in things. And when COVID happened, that was more and more difficult, and I just sort of doubled down and thought, I need to single-handedly find the silver lining in this cloud for everyone, and just was in denial for so long that I had a bit of a breakdown. But I, through that, learned that life is full of light and darkness, and for me the richness of it is embracing all of it, and most importantly it is sharing those moments of hardship with each other as well. And I think I am even more grateful for those joyful moments because they come in amongst everything else. And I think that it is realistic to pretend that stuff doesn't happen. And maybe you have a good streak where it doesn't happen for a while, but I think one doesn't cancel out the other necessarily. And so that's what I'm trying to lean into. And so this poem is called Wonderful, and it's partly written because one very joyful thing that's happened recently is that Grace is pregnant. And that came after a while of that not looking like it was going to happen. So this poem is called Wonderful, and it's dedicated to little baby. May you always picture where you are as where you're meant to be. May you take in your surroundings like you visited especially. We all end up in the soil eventually. So may you carry such goodness that it nourishes for centuries. May you see life as a show, and may the entry fee be empathy, sat front row with an empty seat for friends in need. And when you're on form, be generous and spread that energy. And when you're not sure, be gentle with yourself and don't forget to breathe. You need not be defined by your many feats. You are not a centipede. There is a joy in doing something terribly. May you share bruise and bruises, and may you do this tenderly. You are the most improved you there has ever been. Of all the words you'll ever hear, remember these. Life is too short to eat celery. Life is too long to feed jealousy. And life is likely just the right length to need therapy. May you be seriously silly. May you be wickedly kind. May you be brilliantly dumb sometimes and yet stupidly bright. May you certainly have doubts. May your weirdness be the norm. May the coolest thing about you be your warmth. May you be powerfully vulnerable, or at least mightily soft. May you be a contradiction and yet at the same time not. And whether you are any, none, or all of the above all, may you know that you are loved. May you understand that it's okay to change your mind, particularly if your views are not the same as mine. May you always make room for playfulness. It may just save your life, and trust whatever makes your heart grow cannot be a waste of time. It may not make you money. It may not even make sense. But if it makes you happy, it is worth it in the end, and it is worth it at the time, and it deserves your very best, and you are never too busy to catch your breath. Just as you cannot be in traffic without being traffic. Life is not something that you are stuck in while it happens. There is more in you than you could possibly imagine. The very fact that you exist makes everything a bit more magic. When it all feels too much, and there is little you can do, may you still see the best in people, and may people include you. May one thing match the gravity of all you've ever done. This wonderful reality, the best is yet to come. I've got a new book, but Laurie has got 2 new books. How? What?
Because I'm a massive show-off. No, they're quite little ones. But basically what happened was I won a competition with Smith Doorstop, who are also called The Poetry Business. If you don't know them, I'd look them up because they do really amazing workshops, and they're just like the kindest, loveliest people. A bit like you, really. Lovely. You know, you just feel better when they're about. You're like, yeah.
Come on.
It's good. So that was that one. And then this one, I've got a full collection coming out in March, but this book makeover, Working Class Barbie, I call it. It's very pink on the front. That was kind of the offcuts of the big book. So it was like, imagine like it's a bit little, like a little pie. So it was, the offcuts of the book. And then the Emma Press picked that one up, who are so amazing. They're like the loveliest publishers. They're just really hardworking, beautiful, brilliant. And this book's like appearing everywhere, even though it's not really got a spine. It's just got a couple of little staples. So basically the publishers both were like, probably wouldn't recommend bringing them out both at once. And I was like, yeah, we'd do that. Because I was like, I'll sell them. But then I don't think that's what they meant. I think they meant that it's actually quite a big task. I got very stressed out, but we got there.
We got there.
So we've got Makeover, and then the other book is called Spin, and it's set on a stationary bike in a gym with lots of other stuff going on around, and both are very sort of working class resilience of women in my family who are brilliant and clean when they're stressed and look after men till they die, and hold up whole houses. So that's basically the essence of both of them. All for the ladies.
Will you share something new?
Yes, I will.
Great.
I'm going to do 2 really, because one from each book.
Yeah.
If that's all right.
The rules are you can do 2 if it's your birthday, or if you've got 2 books out, or if you're the guest.
You chose 2, but I don't want to do one of them. So can I do 4?
What? You can do whatever you like.
Can I do 8? No, I'm going to just keep going till you throw me off.
Great.
No, I'll read one from Spin and one from Makeover. They're both quite short, and then I am going to read a third that's yeah, is that all right? Okay. What a piss take. Everybody be like, go to that open mic at Forts, yeah? You do like 8 poems. It doesn't even say anything. No, this is... So I got Harry to pick a poem from each book, but one's very small, so I reckon I can just do another one. Okay, yeah. One more poem. Okay, cool. All right. So this is called Eat a Mess. She added whipped cream, took out the knife without fuss, smashed the blade through and watched the meringue crack like every bad man she was ever taught to love. Whoa. Okay. Maybe it's quite long, actually. Oh, I do it. Will I do it? How many sections have we got left? 2. I read it quickly. Okay. So, no, I won't. Right, I won't. I'll read the other one, because that's what I want to do, and then I'll take my time. But all I'll say is Harry's picked this poem called Stand Together Nicely, Girls. I'll give you a quick rundown. It's basically me and my sister having loads of photos taken together through the years. It ends with a stanza, which is the best bit of the poem, which is us on a plane, and it's all the pictures we've had taken together. And it says, I take one to show you. I take one for my screensaver out the plane window, yeah? I take one to show our Nan, who has never seen the earth from here. But I'm going to read this one, because it is new, and this is coming in the book next year, but I love reading this one. And I've been talking about my sister all day, because we went swimming, obviously. I don't know if I mentioned that. We went swimming today. Did that today, swimming up there in the sea. It was really cold, but I'm here. Live to tell the tale. We're buzzing with endorphins. So this is, about my sister. She's called Jem. She's my favourite person in the whole world. And she worked on super yachts for a while. So obviously, because we come from a long line of cleaning women, she was very good at cleaning the boat. But on her Instagram, it always looked really posh, like she was having a brilliant time. But really, in reality, it was like carnage. And then she became a celebrity nanny, and now she teaches yoga on the beach in Cornwall. So I got asked once to write a friendship poem, basically, and you had to include all of the things about that person that only you would know. And I put it together. And it won a competition, and the prize money was from like a law firm, so I had to like shake the lawyer's hand with like a cheque, which was always my dream as a poet. And then I read this poem, and the judge was like, "Oh, it's like little Instagram windows, and it's this," and I was like, "Yeah, it is," a bit like the beer pump poem. It's like, yeah, that's exactly what I was meant to be doing. But really, it's just a complete mash-up splurge of all the things that I love about us. So this is Jem. Somewhere you're cleaning another rich person's house. In the hills, your Instagram makes you look like a millionaire. Do you remember when you took me to that spin studio and all giddy with endorphins, you kept laughing, "Why are you crying?" And I said, "I don't know." And we both agreed that it had been a hard year and that the towels all smelt like biscuits. And walking out onto Cardinal Place, like the opposite of bachelorettes, we got donuts and I paid. And I wanted to say, "I'm sorry, Jem, I'm sorry I always make it about me. In the programme, who am I most like? The anxious husband, the sister that struggles with her weight, the actor addict brother. What are you thinking about, Jem? What are you thinking about dusting in that head torch or polishing the fat lemons with olive oil? Tell me the greatest thing you've seen today. Did a bird shit all over the washing again? What ice cream is in the crew mess? Do you miss the MSG buffet and Pret? Are you dragging a big orange car up a mountain's edge, like when we shoved Barbie's long plastic legs in and dragged her around the paddling pool, Westway, Very Berry, Pickapocolo's, Jamie's? Do you remember when we left Ken on the radiator and he melted? Those boys didn't stand a chance with us, Jem, so do that face. The one you pulled when you got caught lugging Verve Clicquot up the lifts. Are you picking the bacon bits out of the potato skins? I bet you're opening a Magnum with a knife and they're all cheering. And nobody ever died of drinking furniture polish, so look. Deep clean the cocaine off the life ring. That's quite out of context, isn't it, really, that? And no one ever died of drinking furniture polish. So deep clean the cocaine off the life ring, the dinner plate, the moon from the bow when the sun is still up. Do you remember us, Jem, in the Avenue Bakery when we could taste the icing sugar the minute that we walked in the door?
I know this wasn't the intention, but I feel like doing
We're
a little...
We're going to do our song, our boy band
Oh,
song.
yeah. Doing a little excerpt of the poem
Yeah?
leaves everyone wanting more. So now if they want the
Hopefully.
full poem, they're going to have to come and buy it.
Yeah, I've got like about 4 books. So,
Fight.
yeah, fight.
I have got more books than there are people here. So if you
I would
can't
like-
get Laurie's,
I'm gonna
then
get
come
one.
and get one of mine.
I'm gonna get
I'll
one.
save you one. Can we do a swap? No,
That's
I'll
always-
wait.
no,
I'll wait,
wait,
because
no.
then you'll only have 3 and I'm going to see you again.
No,
and they might not, so
well,
I won't.
fine, I opposed you one, but definitely, like, it's really awkward when you're on tour with another poet and you go, should we do a swap? And, like, I've just come back off tour with Holly and her book's like this and mine's like this, and I'm like, do you want to do a swap? And she's like, yeah. No, I didn't even ask. Didn't even ask.
I'm going to do one of Holly's for My Something Borrowed, and her latest book is the same width as all of mine put together, which is my entire life's work. So she's a champion.
Yeah.
Yeah. You've been doing some gigs with Holly as part of her tour?
Yeah, and she's so great at finding like the coolest bookshops and going in and going, do you want me to sign some copies of my book? And then they put this little sticker on the front. So we went into Waterstones. I can't remember where it was, but it was like the first time I'd ever seen my book in Waterstones, which again was really odd because it's a really thin spine. And I found it, and Holly was like, you should do that as well. And then we both went up, and Holly was like, dung, dung, signed her book. And I was like, this is my one. Like, I was chuffed. I was like, I know I messaged James from like the other person. He was like, yeah, I think they bought one. I was like, cool. But yeah, it was a proud moment.
Incredible. What's been your favourite gig from Holly's tour?
God, Oxford Northwall was really nice because the venue's amazing. It's like a plant pot. It's all like terracotta. It used to be a swimming pool. And it's like the most amazing thing. And I saw an amazing, like sort of alternative folky Irish band there called Lancome, who I love. Definitely, I would look them up. They're brilliant. And I saw them there like years ago, and I remember thinking, this venue's really cool. And then when we did the Oxford one, we turned up and I was like, it's that one. And the sound guy's really nice, but Holly's got this poem. What one are you? You're not going to read By the Boy Flowers, are you?
Yeah.
Oh, fucking hell, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I won't spoil it.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to do that.
I'll tell
one.
the story after.
Oh, I'm
you've
so
read it,
excited,
then.
yeah.
Yeah, remind me.
Yeah.
Oxford Northwall, remind me.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Okay. Oh, great. Are you going to read it now?
Yeah, I'm going to do it right
brilliant.
now. I want to hear the story, so I'm just going to
All right.
get this out of the way and then we can come back to it.
Yeah.
Holly has got a poem called By the Boy Flowers. I saw her in London, and part of it was she said that it was inspired because for a lot of men, the first time they're bought flowers is after they've died. And then she read this poem, and it was my birthday 3 days later, and 2 people bought me flowers as part of it, and it was just such a lovely time. So here's a poem that may or may not have a story coming afterwards that may or may not add to the poem. It's called By the Boy Flowers. A single daffodil, perhaps. One bunch of purple summer heather. Don't let the daisy chains of childhood wilt. Let the lilac whisper, this world belongs to him as well. Let him see you at the doorway, a pot of yellow lilies held out in your hands. Watch him frown at first, as if you've got the wrong person, the scent filling his lungs. Hey, Laurie, you got any cool stories about that poem?
I've got a story about that poem, yeah. So I was gigging with Holly McNish, and we did this venue called Oxford North Wall. I don't know if you know it. It used to be a swimming pool. Basically the sound guy was so lovely. But we went out into this undercover marketplace all day in Oxford, which was so lovely. The bookshop there is so great. And Holly signed all her books, and then I couldn't find mine, and then they had one. But I was like, okay, we had some dinner and whatever, and then there was a flower market. So Holly was like, I think we should buy an audience member. So I went, buy the boy flowers, yeah. And she was like, yeah, we'll do it, shall we? We'll buy somebody flowers. And I said, well, you could obviously with Holly's gigs, it's a bit like Breakfast Club. It's mostly women, and then there's sort of maybe a couple of boys come, and everyone's like, there's a boy here. And she basically, I said, should we give somebody in the audience the flowers, or should we give them to the sound guy? And she was like, yeah, give them to the sound guy, he'll love it. What a great idea. And I said, okay, so I'll go around the back, and then when you do that poem, and then I'll come out and I'll give the sound guy the flowers. And he was so confused, and it was just so weird. And then afterwards we were we had a photo. It's the most amazing photo. I'll put it on Instagram if it's not in there already, but it's us with him with the flowers, and he was just like, I think I'll give them to my wife, yeah. And I was like, oh god. So yeah,
Incredible.
we tried.
You tried. Would you be up for doing something borrowed?
Yes, I'd love to. So I was going to do a poem called Small Kindnesses by a poet called Danusha Ramirez, but what I'm going to do is a different poem that's about birthday. Maybe it's a birthday. It's definitely a party. Where's Anne?
Yay!
And it's your birthday, isn't it? It's your birthday. I love that you've stood. I love that you've stood up. You've had 2 wines now. Good on you. So I'm gonna do a poem called The Party, but do look up the other one because it's really nice, called Small Kindnesses. I'll post that one online too. But yeah, this is The Party. I've had 2 wines now. Also, Happy Birthday is the worst song ever, isn't it? It's so bad. But I used to work for Jamie Oliver, and someone told, and I had a partner that worked there as well, and we were breaking up at the time, so it was obviously fucking awful to be in a waitress outfit and tie, working with your partner, and it's over. Someone told him that when you sung Happy Birthday to a guest, you had to sing Happy Birthday from Jamie, which you obviously didn't. And I remember us just stood there for fuck's sake. Anyway, this is a really lovely poem called The Party. And I'd invite you to shut your eyes, actually, because the images in it are amazing. So you can take a big deep breath in through your nose and then sigh it out. There's a really nice bit in the poem where someone goes, never done audience participation in my life, but if you want to give it a go, I'll let you when it comes up to R. So this is for you, Anne. It's by Jason Schinder, called The Party. And that's how it is. Everyone standing up from the big silence of the table with their glasses of certainty and plates of forgiveness. And we're walking into the purple kitchen, everybody leaning away from the gas stove. Marie blows on at the very edge of the breaking blue, orange lunging forward flames to warm another pot of coffee, while the dishes pile up in the sink, perfect as a pyramid. Says Donna. Anyone want to have a little go at that one? Says Donna, closing her eyes and leaning on Nick's shoulders as he drives the soft blade of the knife through the glittering dark of the leftover chocolate birthday cake. And that's it. That's how it is. Everyone standing around as if just out of the pool, drying around, standing, talking. That's it. Shuffling back and forth on the deck of the present before the boat slowly pulls away into the future. Because it hurts to say goodbye, to pull your body out of the warm water, to step out of the pocket of safety, clinging to what you knew or what you thought you knew about yourself and others. And that's how it is. That's it. Throwing your jacket over your shoulders like a towel and saying goodbye, Victoria, goodbye, Sophie, goodbye, Lily, goodbye, sweetie, take care, be well, hang in there, see you soon. It's a good one.
It's a great one.
It's a good one, isn't it?
It's a real good one. There's a few choice quotes from tonight. I've had 2 wines, and also "we ain't serving dinner tonight," I think, is a good catchphrase. Thanks for that.
It's all right.
Oh.
I enjoyed that.
It's time for something blue.
Oh, God.
And I had one planned, and then you said, "Have you got any sexy poems?" And so I'm going to do my sexiest poem, if people think they can handle it.
I don't know if I can sit on stage for this one. I
so
won't know where to look.
This is related to Holly McNeish as well, because we were hanging out, and Holly's amazing for many, many reasons. And she's got a poem about how great her shoulders are. And partly it is because as a woman, you're just told to hate your body and so many more things. So it's kind of an act of self-love, and it's a radical thing, and it's also very funny. And so when we were hanging out, based off that, I wrote a poem about how great my knees are, which societally aren't as sort of maligned in the grand scheme of things, but I thought it would be fun to do. And then when I next saw Holly perform, she said, "There's this poet called Harry who always goes on about how great his knees are." So I thought I would write a poem about my shoulders. And I don't remember it happening in that order. So I'd just like to put on record that I think this is a poem in response to Holly, but she would say the exact opposite. But this is a poem about my knees. And I feel very fortunate that, because a lot of my poems are online, they sort of reach places I never expected. And fairly often I get people telling me that they have read my poem. Sometimes it's sort of at a wedding, sometimes it's kind of students for kind of public speaking competitions. And often it's poems that you would expect. But someone messaged me to say that their daughter had read this poem in their school, but they had to change it because it references George Clooney, and they didn't know who that was. So this is simply called Knees. I have incredible knees. Such is the legend of my knees that bees use these as a point of comparison. When insects come across a particularly great leaf or piece of dirt, they turn to one another and say, "Now this is the Harry's knees." Sometimes I will catch their reflection in a shop window or a puddle or the tear-filled eyes of a passerby and think, you know what? Yes. Each time a stranger sees my knees, they fight the urge to seize my knees. Campaigns are made to free my knees. When I die, they might freeze my knees. Neo was so sick of love songs till he saw my knee, yo. My knees make your knees weak at the knees. For my knee, your knees get down on one knee. They ask my knees to join your knees in holy matrimony. My knees say wait and see. My knees have been known to tease. Such is the stress when my kneecaps lock that to sufficiently express it you would need caps lock. Academics have proposed theses to make my knees a protected species. My knees say they don't need protecting, thank you, they do as they please. I just have incredible knees. Websites discuss conspiracy theories about whether there exists a miracle knee gene or if it is more akin to gin or genies. If you had 3 wishes, would you wish for these knees? Yes, please. You cannot synthesize what lies between my shins and thighs. I've met insurance companies concerned that I might bump my knees. They said that they could cover me. I said, your love don't come for free. Don't ask my knees to bend and snap. You know my knees don't bend like that. One time I tried to use these knees. It's the stunt double George Clooney's knees. But a few seconds through these scenes, he asked to reconvene. He said they were upstaging him. I tended to agree. I just have incredible knees. Well, I don't just have incredible knees. They make up the incredible me. No matter what your shape or size or what your self-esteem, whether you're wobbly or knobbly or somewhere in between, loving ourselves to start somewhere. So once more I'll repeat, I just have incredible knees. I just have incredible knees. I don't perform it much, but...
What book is that?
That's in Unashamed, which is blue, something blue. So I've performed from all three of my books. Pretty cool. I'm going to hand it over for you to do something blue to finish. But before I do, massive, massive thank you. And also, big shout out, Laurie's got a merch table. Such is the extent of the merch game. So, only 4 books. However, what else have you got with you?
Well, you can obviously have a bookmark. That's nice. They're at £80 each. No, they're just there on the bar there.
We've got a little display going on.
Oh, thanks, Anna. So I've got some totes and also some books. I've got 4 of each book, I think, really. Maybe 5, I'm not sure. But, if anybody would like one, I sign it for you and whatever, and come and have a cuddle. But I'm going to read a poem off of a tote bag, which is quite a common thing, I think, for a poet to do. Okay, so this is my something blue, but I'm not sure it is. It is what it is. But no, this is George, so I'm going to read this off of a tote bag. Anything else to say? Don't admit if your name's George, obviously. That will go really badly for you. No, that's it. Okay. Thank you for having me, Harry Baker. I think you're the bee's knees, and I will... and this is the last one, isn't it? The last one. Something blue. I guess it's blue like that. Yeah. Mood kill. But no, I'll end on like a sort of, this one, because I started gloomy, so hopefully this will make you laugh, but who knows? No pressure to laugh, obviously. Don't you do you. So, George, it's after a poem by Morgan Parker called Matt, but this is George. George loves pizza. George strikes a tiger. George likes his girls girly and will tell you that he's tall. George isn't looking for anything serious. George knows this amazing little place by the river. George had his bum out on a cliff once. George. If you like cheese, then you'll love him. George is a cheeky chappy. George likes his women funny. George usually goes for blondes, but George has this thing for brunettes. George will kiss you on the forehead and make sure you get home safe. George doesn't pay rent. George got played on BBC Radio 6 at 4 a.m. George says, fair play. George tells you his ex was a model. George loves curves. George calls you his sweet vanilla latte. George's best friend is Nick from the microbrewery. George paid someone to put together his eco-friendly urban wall garden but has a diesel engine. George beckons over the waitress. George calls her honey. George tips her a 20 and makes sure that you see it. George keeps calling the bouncer Buddy. George keeps saying, nice guy. George calls his mummy and you know that she won't like you. George's ex sold ice cream out of a wheelbarrow. George's ex dressed up as a schoolgirl once and George thinks it's really sexy when girls read. George calls the place you were born in a little bit of a shithole. George has so much money. You'd like to take George's money and buy him some socks. George gets cross when they're out of almond croissants because he rang ahead and has cycled all the way from Putney. George drives you crazy when you don't hear from him in 3 weeks, even though the last time you did, he drunk dialed you from a Chinese restaurant on the Strand and told you that he thought he might actually love you. George might be dead. George keeps the little book of plays you gave him next to his bed. George has this gold pen with his initials on. George gets back in touch. George insists you meet his parents. George dresses you in his stepmum's barber coat and hat and calls you a cutie. George's dad taps your bum at the bar like it's 1950. George says you can really pull that look off and that is just his dad's way.
Come on. Could we give it up for all of the open micers? For Ed doing the sounds. For Grace running the bar. For Anna working the door. For yourselves for coming out. And for the fantastic, wonderful Laurie Bolger.
And many more. And also Harry Baker.
Hooray!